Hello everybody, it's Jenny McGarvey. I have my project Life to share with you today. As you can see, I had my notebook out and I have the photos that I'd like to use for this week's spread. I also have right there the Scraptastic Kit Club June This Life Noted kit. I've already used it for one spread, so I will be heading into my second spread with this kit, and you will see at the end it is nowhere near being finished. I'm keeping this week pretty simple, and I'm going to just share this with you pretty quickly. I don't have a whole lot of time to go really in depth, but I did want to share something, so that's where we're at with this week. As you can see, I'm pulling out some of the items. I'm starting with the 4x6 cards and the pull-aparts that all come packaged together, looking for something to go underneath that smaller photo and then also as a filler card as well. Now, I absolutely loved that June calendar for this month, so I'm really super excited to get to use it. And then that push pin one as well. I wasn't actually sure how I was going to use it, so I'm excited that I did. Now, that upper left-hand photo is a photo of my son in the dentist chair, and I didn't print it big because, I mean, it's kind of random. I mean, he's just laying in a dentist chair, but I did want to incorporate that, the trip to the dentist, so I kept it small, figuring that I'd be able to find some sort of a cool card to go with it. Now in that lower right hand spot, you can see I did what I have done a lot recently, which is using a photo with something else sort of random on the side. Now I don't actually leave that there. You'll see that I do switch it out, but I did use that wood veneer 3x4 card that says let the fun begin. I love, love, love that we get these wood veneer 3x4 cards in these kits, and so it's really fun. Now, as you can see with that lower right-hand corner, that is what I was talking about using a random 3x4 card with a 3x4 photo in a 4x6 slot. I know that that is fairly common. People do it quite a bit. I actually really like it. It helps change things up a little bit. Now that should, could, would, did card is really pretty perfect for the story that I'm telling with that slot, so I'm excited to have it. I, again, didn't know how I would use that card, when I went into this month, but that actually ends up being perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull out those Studio Calico Essentials enamel dots and add those to that wood veneer card with the little sprinkling of polka dots. I thought it would be fun to add just the slightest bit of color to that card. I have seen some people color in those, like the words and stuff, and I think that's so cool. But like I said, I was really keeping this week quite simple, and even though I keep most of my spreads pretty simple, this week was no exception. I'm running short for time, and I wanted to make sure that I got it done, so I'm keeping it, pretty cool. Now, I do absolutely adore the alphabet stamps that came with this set this month, and you will see those making an appearance on this spread as well. Now that I have everything down and laid out and chosen, I'm going to go ahead and start embellishing how I see fit for each card. It's pretty typical the way that I do things. I'm adding just a few journaling lines so I can notate about my son's trip to the dentist. And I like to add the journaling lines. I like the contrast that they provide. I say this in pretty much every video because I use journaling lines on almost all of my projects. I just really like what they add and how I can customize them to each project. Now I'm going to look for a roll of washi in my stash, as well as the roller date stamp from my stash as well. As you can see, I just stamped the date, and now I decided that I wanted to add something else, and washi tape seemed like the perfect thing. You can see my head right there looking for my washi tape, and I ended up choosing a roll of My Mind's Eye yellow with white polka dots just for a little bit of something. I actually have never really been that big of a washi user. I have some, and I have a nice apothecary jar full of it. I just don't find myself reaching for it that often, but in a case like this, it's really the sort of the perfect embellishment. So now I'm going to go ahead and look through the embellishments in the kit and see what I can add to some of those photos. I'm really enjoying those pool photos that I have. I have one of each of my sons, and I know that I want to do something with them. So on this far right one, the little tag from the cut-aparts is perfect, and just using the tiny attacher to adhere that is fantastic as well. Now I'm looking through all those labels and the little stickers that come from those My Mind's Eye, and I'm going to use 3 different ones from both the girl and the boy sets to embellish and journal right on top of that basketball photo. That's one of my favorite things about Project Life is just actually using the photos to do journaling, either just directly with a pen or with stickers or something like that. I think it's really fun to tell the story directly on top of the photograph. So as you can see here, I'm adding not only the story, but also the date as well. And this week I'm using my fine tip Sharpie. Last week I used a slick writer. There's no rhyme or reason to which I use. It's just whichever one I pull out first. I like them both. I'm probably more comfortable with the Sharpie just because I typically use it a lot and was only exclusively pretty much using that for a while. But now I find that I like the slick writers as well. So it's good to have both. Now I'm going to add just one line of journaling on here. I don't want to take away from the overall message of this card, which is super cute, but I did want to notate just a little bit of something. So one line kind of adds something fun, and I think that that's pretty much perfect to just give a little hint to the story, but also keep it very simple and clean as well. Now, as you can see here, I'm pulling out those alphabet stamps that I did mention already because I really like them. I think they're really, really fun, and I think that they are cool and really modern and fresh, and I like that a lot. So that's something excellent to add just right on top of my photos. And I'm using my black StazOn ink, which I typically do. I like that it is easy to stamp directly onto the images without having to worry about smearing or getting all over everything else. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp in a sort of messed up, wonky kind of fashion. I don't want it to be perfect. I don't want to have to worry about lining things up. And not to mention, I mean, they're fun pool photos. So having a kind of whimsical effect is really just fine. The only thing I would say about the StazOn ink, if you haven't really used it that much before, is that it does stain your stamps if you don't clean it off immediately with a cleaner that takes the StazOn ink off. So if that bothers you, that's something that you will want to consider with your stamps and StazOn ink. It doesn't bother me, of course. I'm sure you could have predicted that. I know that it's just ink and that's it. So as you can see, I went ahead and I stamped pool time right on top of that photo, and now it's all finished. And I just love that it gives it a really fun sort of effect, and I'm very excited to have used that. Now I'm going to cut apart just those little photo corners. I thought it would be a fun little addition to that photo of my son. I'm not even actually sure that the one that I used is really actually a photo corner. It might just be the trim piece, but I don't even care. I think it's cool and I like using it. So as you can see, that is the whole left side of the spread, and I'm going to pull out another one of my little templates so I can start working on the right side of the spread. Now for this one, I don't have as many photos, and it's sort of intentional. I wanted one side to feel a little bit lighter than the other, and it worked out great to just put the bulk of the photos on the left side. Now I'm going to go pretty embellishment heavy or card heavy on this side, and choosing the ones that I wanted to use was a little bit difficult because there were a few different cards that really sort of fit what I wanted to do, and so I didn't have a whole lot of problem having lots to choose from, should I say. There were tons and tons that I wanted to choose from. And then, a lot left over when I was finished. So that's exciting too, because I could still do at least one more spread and probably two with all of the supplies that I still have left. Now I am going to start working on something for that lower left-hand photo. It's super weird. It's a statue of a hot dog at an ice cream place that we go to, and he's holding a ketchup bottle. Super weird. Anyway, now I'm going to go through those 3x4 cards because I had left that spot open for embellishing, and I decided that instead of using a 3x4 or a 4x6 card, I would just use two 3x4, and I really like that grid effect that that right-hand side has, so I'm super excited that that worked out well. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim down that hot dog photo and adhere it. Now I was going to pull out those lime green alphas to use on there, but unfortunately I don't have the letters that I needed, so I just sort of scrapped that and use one of the cut aparts and adhere it, but then use the tiny attacher for embellishing, and then just pull out my pen and do a tiny bit of journaling on there. I knew that this would be fun and a great little card. It didn't really even actually matter what I did to it because the photo really sort of stands alone and speaks for itself. And as you can see, because I used so many filler cards, there's really not actually that much work to use for this particular spread, which is nice. It's kind of simple. Now I'm trying to decide how to embellish that pool photo, and there's so many different ways you could go. And I really do like those wood veneer banners, but ultimately they're probably not the right choice for that. I decide to use that die cut that says Summer Loving, and I'm going to put it on the top and it'll hang out the top of the page protector, which I think is pretty fun and not something I've done yet this year. So it'll be nice and have that right along the top of that page. And not to mention that it doesn't really detract from that photo, which I like also. Now I have a photo of my son cutting the grass, and it's the first time he has done it solo. So I'm pretty excited to have included that in the album. I'm just going to go ahead and write the date on it, keeping it pretty simple. There are about 1,000 different ways that I could go for embellishing this one, but keeping it, easy and simple seems about like the best way to go. So now I'm pulling out one of those little wood veneer push pins to put on that card with the squares and the rectangles and stuff. I love those push pins. It's been kind of a challenge to find ways to use them, but they are super, super cute and I love having them, and I think that it's perfect right there in that white rectangle. Now I'm going to pull out one of those date label stamps that came in those My Mind's Eye little sheets, and I'm just going to go ahead and notate the date. I will use my Sharpie marker again since these are slick little labels. And it's perfect. This was actually one of the ones from the girls sheet, but you really wouldn't know, and so it's perfect for a baseball photo. Now I'm sitting here trying to decide what else to do. I'd like to add a little bit of journaling, so I'm going to tear apart one of those little tabs that come in the kit and just add that and just add a couple of words of journaling, and it really turns out great, I think. It's a simple and easy way to add the smallest bit of journaling right on top of the photo. And now I'm going to go ahead and use that sun card, which I love for journaling. I'm going to do something really super different for me. I'm just going to use the grid lines on my mat to sort of guide my handwritten journaling that I'm doing with just bullet points, sort of highlighting the week that we had. And that'll really be it. I'm not going to go crazy with journaling. And I had originally intended to just draw lines and write out all of my journaling. I wanted to sort of hit the highlights of what we had done this week, but I figured the bullets really just worked as well. So as you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and handle that and write those all out, and using the guidelines from my mat works fine as well. So thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my project life for this week. I really hope you enjoyed it. You can find the kits at www.scraptasticclub.com. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.